This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Robert Fekkes at Nurser330 on Instagram.
Nice. And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello, and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. I'm your host, the aforementioned Matt Hurt, and with me today is recurring co-host, Mr. Robert Fekkes.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going on this fine, nondescript day of the year?
It is going well.
Nice. I was going to make a stupid joke. Notice there was a bit of a spring in your step. Or, it's...
I'm still reeling from the revelation that Thanos was dead the entire time.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Which you found out in Vegas, which is a trip that you've already taken.
That I already went, yes. It's been great.
Of course, I'm married to... I can't even think. Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Shock of the world.
Yeah. God, I'm going to pay for that one. I don't remember your name.
You're going to be sleeping on your new couch tonight.
Hey. Too real. Okay, this is the Obsessive Viewer. We are recording this in advance, so that's why we're idiots. This is our first episode in a series of episodes that is going to be a retrospective on the directing work of Mr. Quentin Tarantino in preparation for his new film that's coming out soon, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which at the time of this recording... I mentioned to you right before we recorded, don't make mention of it or anything. Right. I've done it like 4 times already.
The suspension of disbelief is gone.
Exactly. But it's fine, because, what did you think of the trailer? Because I haven't actually talked to you about the trailer.
Oh, it just looks fantastic. Mm. I like that it's kind of going back, or it appears to be going back to kind of a Pulp Fiction style of multiple storylines colliding.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Totally. And at this point in our lives, we'll go ahead and say it. It's April 3rd. And we've had the first trailer for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood come out recently.
2 weeks ago, I think it was.
2 weeks ago. Okay. And it looks like it's a lot of fun. The cast is incredible. So
it really is.
And also the setting, the time, in 1969 Hollywood. Really appealing to me, and it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone looks like they have a whole lot of fun making the movie, too.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. So, super pumped for that. And so this is our first in a planned trilogy of Quentin Tarantino episodes in the lead up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Today we're going to be talking about his first 3 films, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown. And yeah, so let's kind of dive into it. First, Fekkes, what did you what's your relationship to Quentin Tarantino?
So, Quentin Tarantino's movies started coming out when I was probably, I want to say around 11 or 12ish. I want to say. So obviously my parents didn't take me to go see Reservoir Dogs in the theater. So I didn't start watching Tarantino films until late high school, early college, and I immediately fell in love with his style. I want to credit Tarantino as to being one of the directors that actually pulled me into just a kind of just a big movie fan.
Nice.
Like his style, and I want to say Pulp Fiction was probably the first one that I saw, and I want to say that was the movie that really got me into film.
Nice. I would say I'm kind of similar. Pulp Fiction was one of the movies that kind of blew me away when I saw it in high school for the first time. And Reservoir Dogs, I wasn't too crazy about when I saw it because I don't know. I just, when I was a kid, I was still formulating my taste and everything, and it just didn't really work for me the way that like Pulp Fiction did. But I have come around to that, as we'll talk about later in this episode. But I do want to share a stupid anecdote from my life. But Pulp Fiction, like when it came out in like 94?
I think it was 94.
Yeah. I was like 8 years old, and I lived in Ohio with my family, of course. And one of our neighbors told us the joke, the ketchup joke. Like he was like, the neighbor was just telling us the joke. And like, for some reason that joke always stuck with me. Like, oh, that's kind of funny.
It's the greatest joke ever.
Yeah. And then I years later, I'm in a different state, and I watch Pulp Fiction, and I'm like, that motherfucker, he passed that joke off like it was his own. And I sat there and I tracked down the timing and everything. He must have just gone to the theater and seen that movie.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Long story short is, though, Matt has a restraining order out against him from a guy in Ohio. So.
Yes, that's true. Yep. I have no idea what his name was or anything. I think it was like a friend of mine's parent or something. I don't remember the friend. So
sure you don't.
Yeah. Anyway. I didn't really take to Tarantino the way everyone else kind of seemed to. Well, that's not fair, because I really loved Pulp Fiction, but I kind of have grown into a mindset where it's kind of like he's more style over substance for me. And I'm kind of...
Are you at that point now?
Yes, a little bit.
Oof.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting project, I should say, because, like, okay, I love his storytelling, the way that he can construct a scene almost entirely around dialogue with minimal action, and like he can have a scene where it's just two characters sitting like in a house,
in a diner, or
yeah. And just having a conversation, it can be the most tense thing. I'm thinking in particular of like Inglourious Bastards. It can be like the most intense scene, and it's just dialogue. Like that is an art. It's something that is incredibly clever in his techniques and style and everything. But it's also, I think part of it might be, and I'm not saying that this is how I feel, but I think part of it might be influenced by kind of how much people love Tarantino. Like, it's like a diehard fandom for Tarantino.
You've grown past the Tarantino fandom. You're like, oh yeah, I mean he's good, but he's no
right.
Insert reference of more obscure director.
Yeah, he's no French New Wave director of so and so. He's no Kurosawa. But I kind of think that it's not necessarily that I'm scoffing at it because he's popular or anything. It's more like I'm not, my level of interest in his work and enjoyment of his work isn't on the same level of like the diehard fans, and I kind of feel like I'm at like a disadvantage there, if that makes sense. Like, people like live and breathe by Tarantino's work, and I'm like, yeah, I'll watch them. Like, I watch them maybe every couple years, give or take. Well, that's not.
Man, that's more passive than I would have given. I would have thought for you.
Yeah, like here's what I'll say. His movies are not ones that I go back to and throw on in the background or anything, or like I don't revisit them as much as I maybe should, because I mean his work is really impressive, but it's not something that I revisit that often.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's why I'm excited to do this, because it kind of gives me a good excuse to kind of realign my opinion of him.
Like, there's several of his films that are in my rotation of rewatches.
Nice.
So,
yeah, and I can't really speak to why that is for me, because like Pulp Fiction, I think, is like, for my tastes as a consumer of media, I would say it's about as close to like a perfectly constructed movie as you can get, and as far as entertainment value and dialogue and everything. Like, I get I get as much entertainment out of Pulp Fiction as I do like any of my like favorite movies of all time. Yeah, but I don't really revisit it that often.
Yeah, that's one of the. I probably watch Pulp Fiction a couple times a year.
Interesting, huh? Well, yeah, I don't know.
Fair enough.
But yeah, but maybe by the end of this trio of episodes, and as we go into Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'll be singing his praises and wanting him to take creepy photographs of my feet or whatever.
Yeah, he does have a foot fetish.
He does, yeah. There was an article that I read that was someone claiming to have had a one-night stand with him, or he had picked them up at a bar or something, and she was talking about how he was very he was very much involved with her feet and wanted her to jerk him off with her feet.
It's called a foot job, Matt.
Yeah.
Watch some porn.
Well, that's the other podcast I'm starting. But it's it was funny to read the sexual exploits alleged of Quentin Tarantino.
Fair enough. I don't find that all that surprising.
Foot enough. Fair. I don't. No, got nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really towing the line on that one.
Nice. Heel. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I heard. Well, this is not worthy of the podcast or whatever, but I heard one of the dogs retired.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tom's last day was yesterday.
Oh.
So, in fact, our
nice.
dog handler is on his way up to Canada. I think today or tomorrow to pick up the new pup that he's going to have. So,
brief aside, what happens to Tom?
He just lives out the rest of his days with Matt, our canine handler.
Nice.
So he's pretty much he's a pet for until he passes.
Yeah. Huh. That's how my dad was with his dog, his canine dog, Thunder. Yeah.
That's typical. The dogs are no longer working. The department pretty much signs the pup over to the canine handler, and Matt will treat him well for the rest of his days.
So he's basically transitioning into being like a pet as opposed to a canine officer.
Right.
So would you say that he's got a pension from the department?
Fuck off.
Now I have to keep that in.
Anyway,
instead
it's a good
of a
transition
pension
to Reservoir Dogs.
So, Reservoir Dogs, yeah, that is a good transition. God damn it. Okay. So Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs was his first movie, 1992. He did do I'm not as well prepared as I would have liked.
He's got writing credits for Natural Born Killers.
Yo, yeah, was that before Reservoir Dogs?
I am fairly certain that it. If it wasn't, it was right around Reservoir Dogs.
He has Natural Born Killers was a year or two after. It was 2 years after.
Okay, 94 is when Natural Born Killers came.
Yeah, and he had a writing credit for True Romance in 93, so a year after Reservoir Dogs. But he did have a writing and directing credit for co-writing and directing credit for a movie called My Best Friend's Birthday, which is clearly like a student film type of thing. Which I kind of wish I could have found, but I'm not that interested in it, really, to be honest.
I feel like that's not one of those things that, while I'm sure in some way he's proud of that, it's not one of the things that is commonly viewed by everyday film goers anyway.
Yeah. An interesting piece of trivia about it is the camera would be rented on Friday because the rental company wasn't open on weekends. This meant they could pay for 1 day and get it for 3.
Nice.
So that's awesome. And also, apparently, the movie later became the basis for True Romance.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, but we're talking about Reservoir Dogs. To kind of get us kicked off here, what is your position on tipping?
That conversation makes me so angry because it's just so ridiculous.
It really
I was
is. because why would anyone tip?
Right.
No, obviously it's tip your waitresses, guys, or wait staff, I should say.
Right? Yeah, yes. Gender neutral.
Yeah, it's God, and like it's by design. It's like supposed to piss us off,
but it's it's an amazingly written conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
And Steve Buscemi, I love him in this movie.
Me too.
Like, he's perfect.
He's great. He's great. He's squirrely, but he's also like the kind of the voice of reason. In it, it's a really well crafted character for him. And I love in the tipping scene when Lawrence Tierney comes back after paying the bill, and like he's like, oh wait, who didn't throw in? And then they're like, oh, Mr. Pink doesn't tip. And then he's like, the fuck are you talking about? I paid for your food. You're gonna throw in, like, cheap bastard. Really, really great. And this is something that we'll probably talk about here and there throughout this entire series, but Quentin Tarantino as an actor.
So interesting. He actually wanted to play Mr. Pink.
Did he really?
He did. And he just would have been awful at it.
Yeah,
I do not enjoy Quentin Tarantino as an actor. Like,
same here.
Like his role in Reservoir Dogs is just short, though it is. It's kind of annoying. Like he's like that guy that doesn't fit into the group,
right?
But is trying really hard to fit into the group.
But is the one that is paying everyone's.
Yeah, right.
He's the boss. So, I agree. And like, I'm kind of nervous to see how his cameos and bit parts through his movies, evolve throughout this whole thing. Cause like, I remember just kind of cringing at
he
Django.
Doesn't have a cameo in every movie.
That's true.
He doesn't have one in Jackie Brown.
I was wondering, did he do the voice of the answering machine? I didn't look it up.
If he did, I feel like that's obscure enough that it's not even relevant.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any cameos in the Kill Bills.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He doesn't have a cameo in Inglourious Bastards. He has a cameo in Django.
Mm-hmm. Which that's the one that kind of made me cringe a little bit, because doesn't he try to do like an Australian accent? Yeah.
And I honestly, I can't recall if he had one in Hateful Eight.
Oh man, and that's the one that I've watched recently. Like I watched that back in like January. Oh yeah, he's the narrator.
In Jackie Brown?
Oh, in the Hateful Eight. You said the Hateful Eight, right? Yeah.
I said I wasn't sure if he was in that one or not.
Yeah. And he has an uncredited one in Inglourious Bastards, just as like first scalped Nazi.
You know what? That's right. I forgot about that. That's a fitting cameo for him. He doesn't say anything. He's getting scalped.
Right.
I forgot about that one.
He does do the voice of the answering machine in Jackie Brown.
Gotcha.
I thought that was him. Yeah. So by the way, we're going to really only be doing his directed feature. So we're not going to really touch on like True Romance or From Dusk Till Dawn or anything. Maybe when we do Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we can do that as like potpourri or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So what did you think overall of Reservoir Dogs, and like what was your first impression of it when you first saw it? Like what context did you first see it in, and how does it hold up now, some 20 some odd years later? Jesus, like
27 years.
7. Yep.
So I'm fairly certain I saw Reservoir Dogs in college, and it was definitely the second Tarantino film I watched, and I think I watched it because a friend of mine in college was just absolutely nuts about the movie.
I see.
And I figured I should watch it anyway because I love Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall having a strong reaction towards Reservoir Dogs. The more I've watched it over the years, the more my opinion of it has evolved. You know, at one point I thought is an amazing movie. I'm at to the point now in my watching that it's a good movie. It's a very good movie.
Yeah.
And I especially respect it for the low budget and just kind of grassroots means of getting it produced. So as it stands now, it's a very enjoyable film. I think it has some great dialogue and an amazing performance from Steve Buscemi.
I agree, and you heard it here first, guys. Robert Fekkes really approves of the work of the Weinsteins with this movie. Was it
Hashtag him too.
No. Jesus.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure. It was Weinstein Company.
Yeah, I am kind of in the same boat. I saw it when I was in high school, and I think I may be repeating stuff I said earlier, but wasn't as taken with it because it was also my second Tarantino movie after Pulp Fiction, and Pulp Fiction is such a well realized, like I don't want to say studio film, but it's it's got that prestige to it.
It does. It's amazing how far the production value went between Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
And so that's not something back in my earlier, in my college days, I really appreciated as much.
Right.
What filmmakers did with limited budgets.
Yeah.
But I understand that now, and it makes my appreciation for the movie more. Like, I appreciate it more.
Oh, absolutely. And like when you're first seeing it, when you're kind of young and forming your opinion and stuff, it's like when you see it after Pulp Fiction, like at least I went into it thinking like, oh, this is Tarantino's first movie. This is going to be mind blowing.
Right.
And like, it's got that cleverness to it. Like his clever writing and everything is really great, but the way that it all takes place after the heist, like right before the robbery and then right after, and it's all kind of these different storylines converging together. It's like it kind of seems like a prototype for the storytelling in Pulp Fiction.
I actually read a tidbit that part of the reason they never showed the heist is because the cost.
Yeah.
So the cost.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, so
which totally makes sense.
But it works for the film.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
It's almost like, in a sense, The Hangover.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't see the ridiculousness that causes this incident, but we see the aftermath of it.
Exactly.
And that's actually, in my opinion, makes it that much more strong. Or
Absolutely.
that makes it a stronger film.
Absolutely. And it also forces the script to work overtime to make it cause by default we're like missing out on what is conventionally like the most entertaining part of any heist movie. But the heist, yeah. So the actual the movie has to work overtime to be better than what our imagination can be.
For instance, the heist going the way it was, the way it went was Mr. Blonde just going psychotic inside the jewelry store, and that's one of those things we don't get to see, but we get Harvey Keitel's description and Steve Buscemi's reaction to it, so you kind of get a feel for what happened just through their dialogue, and it's very impressive. Absolutely.
And also with Michael Madsen's performance as Mr. Blonde, he's amazing.
You know what? Michael Madsen is one of those guys that is great in Tarantino films.
Absolutely.
But you don't see him in anything else because he does fucking red box originals.
Yeah.
The only other movie that I remember Michael Madsen being in and actually thinking, man, he did a great job that wasn't a Tarantino film was Wyatt Earp. He played Virgil Earp in Wyatt Earp.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of that movie, but Michael Madsen I thought does a great job in that role. But if it's not Tarantino, he just, I don't know what it is about his.
Yeah.
Is he difficult to work with? I don't know. It could be a number of things, I suppose, but it's weird that how great he is in Tarantino films, but you just don't see him anywhere else.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking through his IMDb list now, and it's
he's working. He's just working with movies that you're going to see on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, he's in Megalodon. Megalodon, the TV movie, not Meg.
The Meg. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember a Meg.
No. Wow, yeah, and nothing is really jumping out as something that I watched him in that I enjoyed that wasn't a Tarantino movie. That's kind of sad, because like you said, he is talented. I do like him when he's good. It just seems like he doesn't really have that opportunity to be in something good. God, I'm really excited. I'm excited to get to The Hateful Eight because I know you had some.
Well, I haven't seen it since the first time I saw it,
right.
So I'm obviously going to watch it for the podcast, but I'll keep an open mind for it.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. So the cast in this movie is great. Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Tiernan.
I heard Lawrence Tiernan was not a peach to work with.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise. He has this.
Like, he would not refuse to learn his lines. And, like, it was just kind of a dick the whole time is what I kind of read. Which,
jeez.
I guess that kind of is fitting to his character.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, whenever I hear that, I don't understand it. How
well, every job has dickheads. You know?
That's very true. That is,
acting is just another job.
Yeah, that's true.
Personalities.
Yeah. But you would think like that profession would be more humbling than others.
Really? No. Of all professions, I find
like in theory, because like I'm thinking in terms of my own like mindset. Like if I know that like my work is going to be observed by people and like it's like if I'm like in the spotlight or whatever.
Nothing about that seems humbling at all.
Huh.
Yeah. Have you read anything about Hollywood actors?
No. I've heard that Hollywood is a really nice town and really really great. But yeah, I don't know. Oh, I guess I can understand. I'm a total diva when it comes to the podcast. So
it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I basically force you to come over and record after you worked.
After slaved away at work, he's like,
yes.
Oh, you're hungry? Tough shit. You eat when you're done. I'm like, okay, Matt.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've got like cookies or something in there if you want some.
I try to eat healthy, Matt.
Okay, well, I have bread too. Well, that's not. I don't really have anything.
That's fine. I don't need any food. I got food at home.
Okay, so Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs, back to that.
Yes. Let's talk about Tim Roth's character, Mr. Orange.
Mr. Orange. I almost, of all the performances, Tarantino aside, I almost feel that Tim Roth was a little over the top in some of his portions.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, especially like when he's in the backseat of the car.
Yeah.
I feel that he's a bit rough, and I later on you kind of get a sense why that was happening, but even still, it was a bit much.
Yeah, and I don't want to make excuses for it, but I kind of wonder if part of that is the low budget, like the sound design in that scene isn't the best, and maybe that could have some kind of factor in it.
Maybe, but I don't think that really goes into his overreaction to the situation.
Yeah, that's fair.
But other than that, I feel like in the other scenes he's doing, I think he does a fine job.
Yeah,
and I like Tim Roth, I really do.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I'm glad that he wasn't like an abomination.
I liked his character in that movie, for the record.
I did too. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully you don't lie to me when I bring up this next point.
He had a TV show.
He had a TV show named Lie to Me. Apparently really good. I used to work with a guy whose son wrote for that show.
No shit. That's neat.
I don't remember his first name. Anyway, so yeah, we should decide here. Are we going to be spoiling these movies?
Yeah, I mean, this is a 27-year-old movie. Mm-hmm. Hateful Eight was like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. God. So we're spoiling these.
That's crazy to think that there's that big of a time gap.
You know what? I can appreciate that because he's one of those filmmakers who's not going to put out a movie just for the sake of putting out a movie. That's true.
In other words, can you believe that it's been this long since? Because there's time, and can you believe it's so? Reservoir Dogs. Let's spoil this. All right, spoilers on for Reservoir Dogs. I'll include like a spoiler warning before we get into it. So, okay, when we review these 3 movies and each movie in this retrospective, we are going to be spoiling each movie. So if you haven't seen Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, or Jackie Brown, go watch them and then come back and listen to this. We'll be spoiling each movie in their respective ones. So if you want to skip around to movies that you have seen, check the show notes for the timestamps and enjoy our reviews of these movies. So spoilers for Reservoir Dogs. What did you think of kind of the last half of the movie, essentially?
Well, I love Mr. Blonde's portion where he just shows up at the safe house. His deal with the police officer he kidnapped, I thought was really not fun because he's torturing a police officer, but it was a really good scene.
It's like the big set piece of the movie.
It really is. Yeah. And the the eventual payoff of him just getting gunned down by Mr. Orange.
Yeah. God, that was so satisfying.
It was.
That was just, God damn it, that was great.
Because he's a piece of shit. It's just a literal piece of shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I kind of like him. Like
he's a horrible character, but one that you enjoy because he plays that character so well.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're like, yeah, I fucking want to torture some police officers and shoot some diamond sales lady. No, it's just that's his role and he does a great job at it. He's a good character to hate.
Oh, absolutely. In the turn where it's revealed that Mr. Orange was the inside man and he's the cop, as someone in law enforcement yourself, how did you feel about that turn?
Suspension of disbelief, that sort of undercover work doesn't really happen in that manner. But it's a fun way of, it's a fun gag for the movie, not gag, but it's a fun write-in for the movie.
Sure.
Not everyone knows the ins and outs of, undercover police work or things like that. No, they're not going to set a undercover police officer to go commit a felony. Especially with guns and possibility of someone getting shot and killed. But, it works for the movie, so I'm okay with it. And I like Tim Roth getting prepped by his partner for the job too. So his telling of his little anecdote is a good inclusion to that character in the backstory. So no, I appreciate it on a movie going level.
In my personal experience, I have no law enforcement experience, but sometimes when I come home, my cat Pizza is laying under the covers of my bed. And so I like to pretend that she thinks that she's saying like, oh, I'm undercover. And when I lift up the blanket and I'm like, hey Pizza, she's like, oh, you're blowing my cover.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
That was good.
I know. Yeah.
Anyway.
So.
I do like when, they at the very end when discussing whether or not Mr. Orange is the inside guy and Harvey Keitel is just like he's not. I do like I love that scene. I love the dialogue between him and what's the old man's name?
Joe.
Joe. I love that dialogue between him and Joe about it's a gut feeling, and he's like, well, he's right actually. He should have trusted his gut. And between him, Harvey Keitel, and Penn.
Nice Guy Eddie.
Nice Guy Eddie.
Yeah.
That's a great setup. That's a great Mexican standoff. The quit pointing a gun at my dad.
That was great.
Yeah, I love that entire scene. That's obviously the pivotal point in the movie, and I think it plays out so well.
Absolutely. And the kind of camaraderie or the connection between Mr. White and Mr. Orange throughout the movie, there's this sense of respect and kind of caring that Mr. White gives to Mr. Orange. And I love that the payoff of the whole movie is him saying I'm a cop. Yeah.
And then Harvey Keitel's like, oh, you're dead.
Yep. So great. God damn it. Yeah. Revisiting this movie for this podcast, I was kind of floored by, I could really appreciate what made Tarantino, what about this movie made Tarantino such a, I don't know if necessarily household name, but made him get his start.
Get his foot in the whole Hollywood door.
Yeah.
It's understandable. It's great writing. It's
absolutely
turns at the right time. He does an amazing job of writing very human characters.
And he kills his own character off very quickly.
He does. He does, certainly does.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Oh, yeah.
I really also enjoy the, so when Mr. Orange mows down Mr. Blonde, you, as a viewer, you're like, oh, that's not going to fly with anybody. It's like, how is he going to explain that? And when Nice Guy Eddie gets there and he tries to explain, I like how Mr. Eddie just calls him on his bullshit. It's like, this is why that's a load of crap. And so you're telling me that this man that just did time for us is going to come out and fuck us over now? No. Like,
that's
I really love that interaction between Nice Guy Eddie and Mr. Orange.
I love that. And just like you said, how quick it is. Like, he's just like, no, like, Mr. Orange has created this whole, he has this, alibi, I guess. But it's just, immediately shut down.
Yeah, Nice Guy Eddie is not even considering. It's like, fuck you.
Yep.
That's not what happened.
So awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can move on to Pulp Fiction here in a second, but overall thoughts on Reservoir Dogs. And I'm not going to have us rank the movies.
No,
not until the end, but we'll see. How do you think it did your opinion of the movie improve or disprove?
I think it's about that point in my life where this movie's it's gonna stay at my level of likeness. I really enjoy the film. It has a couple of issues here and there, but I no longer put it on a pedestal as a greatest movie ever. But it's still a great movie. So yeah, and I don't see that changing. I have a new appreciation for it every time I rewatch it.
I agree. I'm in the same boat. I really think that this time watching it was maybe, I don't know if I'd be prepared to really say that it's the first time that I've watched it outside of the shadow of Pulp Fiction, but this time was this was a viewing where I could really pick up on a lot of the things that I could appreciate about the movie outside of it being a Tarantino movie. I could really pick up on just the genuine cleverness of the dialogue and the plotting and everything, and I could really appreciate the pacing and the directing and that indie filmmaking style that is so kind of infectious. It's
a style that's easy to fuck up.
It is, and
when done right, it's amazing. And he does it right.
And this might be kind of trite or cliched or whatever you want to say, but I feel like when that type of filmmaking is done right, it's more special than a big budget studio film because
it is because it's one of those things that these movies are extremely unique, and they're unique because there's not usually going to be mass appeal for these movies, and
they're always passion projects,
right? And so when they're done right, that's why they're that much better.
Yeah, absolutely. So Pulp Fiction, what is your stance on foot massages?
I would never give another man a foot massage, only because I don't think they properly care for their feet.
Okay. You would never give another man a foot massage?
No, I would never give another man a foot massage.
Would you give a man's wife a foot massage?
Maybe. Only if he's watching in a chair next to me.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that's the only way.
Okay. I'll send you a video to I'll send you links to some videos that you might enjoy. So Pulp Fiction. What was your initial experience with Pulp Fiction, and how has your opinion fluctuated over the years since you first saw it?
Well, since I was 10 years old when it came out, it took me quite a few years to watch it. Mm-hmm. So I probably want to say that I was either 17 or 18 when I finally got to watch Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
And I don't recall a time ever in my life where I did not like this movie. Nice. I know from the get-go I loved it. Like I said earlier, that I credit this movie as being the ones that really drew me in to being a film buff. Just loving the industry, loving film. So I've watched it dozens of times since the first time I saw it. Pulp Fiction I remember specifically going to Best Buy 2 weeks before I went off to college to buy Pulp Fiction just so I would have it at college. So it's one of those movies that's been with me for for a long, goddamn near 20 years, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
Damn.
and I always love watching it. There's never a part of the movie where I find dull or unentertaining, and I always am satisfied when I get done watching it.
Absolutely. And I first saw it probably when I was 15, in high school, and it's one of those movies that like my friends and I would kind of quote and everything and just love because, oh, this movie said fuck 150 times or whatever. But also I think part of my initiation into it, I saw the movie after like knowing about it. But I think one of the reasons why I knew about it was that there's an episode of The Simpsons, called 22 Short Films.
Yeah.
In Springfield.
Springfield.
Yeah. Which kind of parodies this, to an extent. And I remember that when I watched the movie for the first time. And of course my neighbor's, joke thievery. But yeah, I was just so fascinated by the movie. I was really fascinated by the nonlinear storytelling, and I thought that was the most clever thing ever.
That's probably the first movie I remember seeing that was of that nature.
Yep. And for years on this podcast, I have wanted us to do an episode where we talk about, like, back when we did like topic episodes.
Right.
I wanted us to do a nonlinear storytelling movies episode, but have like us record it straight and then me just edit it into a nonlinear structure.
That would be a thing.
It would be, yeah. And we're on like almost episode 300 at this point, and you're welcome for me not doing that. But yeah, it carries on a lot of the stuff from Reservoir Dogs that resonated with me. The storytelling and the clever dialogue and the brilliant pacing and everything is all great. And it just seems like everything that worked well with Reservoir Dogs was amplified tenfold for Pulp Fiction. And it is one of the tightest scripted movies I've seen, and one of the just most compelling and entertaining.
And it's a damn near 2.5 hour movie.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't feel it at all.
Totally agree.
Yeah, it's amazing how much dialogue it is, but how just you can't stop being entertained by the dialogue. It's amazing interactions between characters.
And what's amazing to me about Tarantino's work in general with writing is that it is a heavy dose of dialogue. It's so focused on dialogue, and so much of the dialogue does not matter at fucking all.
Right. But that's kind of the point, though. I mean, that's everyday dialogue.
Exactly.
That's people having regular conversations.
It's creating an atmosphere for the story.
Right.
And it's like, even when it's the most mundane thing, like talking about coffee, it's like, or fucking burgers and like all of that, it's still the most compelling thing because, I don't know, it's a combination of just the incredibly quick and smart dialogue, or I don't know, I guess smart dialogue, yeah, like just quick-witted dialogue, coupled with just the way that they're spoken, that the words are spoken.
Well, I think it does a good job of getting the viewer to connect with a character without showing them why you should be connected to this character.
Exactly.
Films will show you, this is why you should care about this character in, flashback sequences or showing what they're doing about their everyday life that makes them
Exposition.
special. But, this is just, it almost makes you feel like you're there for the conversation, and it brings that connection, in my mind, to the viewer with the characters.
Yeah.
And that's why you're able to connect with these characters that are, for the most part, terrible human beings.
Right.
But you have this connection with them because you're just sitting there watching and listening to their everyday dialogue with other guys of that nature. And I think that just really brings the viewer in.
Absolutely. This movie also really, like, I don't know the history of Coca-Cola, but I remember like seeing this movie and thinking like, oh, vanilla Coke, that's interesting, because Doesn't John Travolta order that?
He orders a vanilla Coke.
Vanilla Coke, yeah. And then, like, I remember, like, thinking, like, oh, that's an interesting thing to order, because I didn't know that existed. And then, like...
If only he knew how many flavors of Coke we have now.
Exactly. Like, what would he think of orange vanilla Coke? Yeah.
You know, I find funny about that scene. I was thinking about this the other day, how flabbergasted he is over a $5 milkshake.
I know.
And right now, that's still a pretty expensive milkshake.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I would say it's closer to being, well, yeah, it is kind of expensive.
Like, you're not going to pay $5 at Steak and Shake for a milkshake.
Oh, no.
So, you know, that's
yeah.
And in 1994, shit, that's an expensive milkshake.
That is. It did look delicious, though.
It did. No bourbon in it, though, which I'd never heard of putting bourbon in a milkshake.
Yeah, me neither.
It's kind of weird.
Would you ever try that?
I would try bourbon just about any way. So,
okay.
Yes,
Nice.
I probably would try that.
Nice. Yeah, so what did you think of the plot and everything? Like, it's a nonlinear story. That kind of brings about some interesting challenges from the filmmaking perspective, because like that you have to hold the audience's attention, and I think that's where he thrives, is that he, like you said, he has these small little spurts of dialogue that ultimately aren't really that important or anything, but they give context to just the setting in the world and the characters and stuff. And I think that that's where it thrives with this nonlinear story, because you're trying to follow like the chronology, but it's also like, oh, this is just an engaging story about gangsters.
And that's what I think it is. It's bringing the viewer into the world of the day-to-day gangster lifestyle, which most people are going to find fascinating to begin with, and the engaging dialogue just amplifies that for the viewer. So while it's hard to say what the story of Pulp Fiction is, it is a great, documentation of these everyday gangsters.
Yeah.
This is the lives, these are the lives that they are living. These are the things that happen in their day to day. And while there may not be a specific plot point, it is engaging to see how they live their lives.
Absolutely agree. And speaking as someone who was at the time an everyday gangster.
Sure. Yeah.
It's very true to life.
Spark plug Mafia for life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Seriously, don't fuck with us, guys. Yeah. What did you think of the performances and stuff? There's
really
insane.
Not a bad performance in this movie. Like it's just tons better. And not to say that Reservoir Dogs had bad performances, but every one of this has just done an amazing job, and it's
more
just
refined.
It is very much more refined, and you have more seasoned actors in it too. So you bring Bruce Willis in, you bring Harvey Keitel back, and Tim Roth is back too. Samuel L. Jackson, who is a god amongst films at this point.
He really is. And watching watching The Hateful Eight earlier this year and rewatching this and Jackie Brown, I was just like, the relationship between Samuel L. Jackson and Quentin Tarantino's scripts is like amazing. Like I could listen to that man just talk nonsense about anything.
Yeah. He knows how to write for Sam Jackson.
He really does.
And Sam Jackson, no matter what he's in, you're drawn to him on the screen.
Absolutely.
He is an icon, and he's one of those icons that has the unique ability to be able to be on screen and, for the most part, me not think about Samuel Jackson, but to think about his character.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do, especially with somebody that's been around for so long like Samuel Jackson.
Someone as prolific as him, it's like you would think that any other actor who has done that much work, like that consistently, without like drastically changing their kind of tone and their physique or anything, you would think like, oh, it's Samuel L. Jackson, that's him. But it's like there's this command that he has over every role that's just like, I don't know, something about him is just like, you don't, like you said, you don't really think of him as, oh, Samuel L. Jackson on the screen. It's like
he's one of the greatest actors that have ever walked this earth. I mean, that's just you can tell me I'm wrong. That's fine, but that's what I believe, and I think that's a testament to his character.
Yeah.
Like you don't see Samuel L. Jackson in the roles. You see his character, and it's amazing to me.
Yeah.
That at this point in his career, where he has just been in just countless projects, I can still go to Samuel L. Jackson movie. I can go see Glass and think, well, that's Mr. Glass,
Right. Yep. Yeah,
and that's Nick Fury. Like that's
right.
not Samuel L. Jackson. That's Nick Fury.
Exactly. I mean, and I love that after so many years we finally have a movie where he's like playing with a cat.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, like it's remarkable the amount of the amount that he can disappear into a role without being showboaty about it.
Well, and that's the thing though. He upstages people without upstaging them. He
Absolutely.
elevates whoever is in the room with whatever scene he's in. He elevates that person to that level just by his, not to take credit away from some of the actors either, because everyone does a great job. John Travolta comes out of obscurity in this movie and does a great job.
Yeah.
But it's just that much more satisfying because Samuel L. Jackson is there too, doing what he always does. So
exactly.
the scenes between him and John Travolta are fantastic. And I'm not taking anything away from John Travolta because he's great in this film.
Right.
But the cult, putting him next to Samuel L. Jackson is just that much better.
Yeah, it's perfect. And then also, the rest of the cast, Bruce Willis, Bruce
Willis is great.
It's amazing. Like, I would say, like, you said that there's no real bad actor in the cast. I'd say his girlfriend in the movie was a little
all right,
touch and go.
Yeah.
But she wasn't like a central character or anything. The GIMP scene.
The infamous GIMP scene.
Yeah. Really rough. It was, yep. Really intense.
But it's so good.
It is. Oh yeah.
Like that's one of the first scenes that I remember saying, like, this is just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
But this is so good. Like 17 or 18 years old, I had no clue what a fucking GIMP was.
Same here. Yeah.
I still don't know what a fucking GIMP is.
I know. I don't even know what sex is. I'm gonna cut that out.
Like, does he live in that box? What's he do when he leaves the box? Does he have an everyday job? I don't know.
Yeah, those are all very valid questions. And first of all, it always kills me how much time Bruce Willis takes picking his weapon.
Oh, I love that scene. While poor Ving Rhames is downstairs.
It's great, but it's also like, I'm like, all right, hurry up. I'm like, you know what's going on, man. Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. And I guess kudos to, The Simpsons for obviously they didn't directly parody that, but like they had like a similar scene.
Well, they weren't going to bend, Milhouse's dad over a barrel and just ream him.
And show him the 50 states. Yeah. To quote Horrible Bosses. So, what else about Pulp Fiction? There's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, that's such a broad movie. It's hard to... any discussion about it is going to be, scattered.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Ving Rhames is great in his performance.
Totally sold the kind of imposing, like, gangster boss guy.
And he is imposing.
Oh my God, he is.
I like Ving Rhames. I wish he were in more mainstream stuff.
Me too.
He's always been fun to watch for me. I like Ving Rhames a lot.
When I was revisiting the Mission Impossible movies, and watching them.
And God bless Mission Impossible for keep giving him steady work.
Oh my God, I know. Like every time he's on screen in those movies, I'm just like, on one hand, I'm like, I love Luther. And
I love Luther's great. Yeah.
And then on the other hand, I'm like, that's fucking Marcellus Wallace. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. And the whole MacGuffin thing with, the suitcase, like
the briefcase.
Yeah, or the briefcase. Everyone
has a theory. Yeah. I'm at the point where I don't care. It's a plot device. That's all it is. Yeah. I don't need it to be Marcellus Wallace's soul. I don't need it to be
an Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter what's in the case.
It is a tried and true MacGuffin. Like, it is truly, like, that is, by definition, that is what it is. It does not matter. So, and I like the visual of that, like, just the way it shines on their faces. I like that. I'm trying to think of the overdose scene.
Whew, that's an intense scene.
Another intense scene. Eric Stoltz is amazing.
Oh, he's does
great.
All of his scenes are fantastic.
Absolutely.
I take the Pepsi challenge against that shit any day.
He's fantastic in it. And when I was a kid, and like I watched him when I was a teenager, like I didn't know who he was or anything. And then like revisiting it like in my 20s, I was like, oh fuck, that's Eric Stoltz. Wow, I had no idea. That, and then the whole plot line with Marvin. By the way, spoilers and everything.
Marvin dies.
Yeah, great scene, like great shock.
It really is just sitting there. Pop.
Yep. Oh man,
I think he shot Marvin in the face. Why the fuck did you do that? I didn't make. Car didn't hit no motherfucking bump.
And what's great about that is it leads to the Wolf and Harvey Keitel, and like that whole
that whole sequence with the
beautiful
dealing with his body, with Marvin's body, is fantastic. Like, I'll even give Tarantino credit. He wasn't abysmal to watch in his scene there,
right?
Because he had some good lines, and he had a good reaction when the Wolf is flipping hundreds at him.
Yeah,
so like it wasn't too distracting.
He did fine.
He was serviceable.
I will say that whenever I see it, and on one hand, I get kind of worn out because it's like, that's so much work that they're doing. But it's also like, oh my God, I'm so fucking lazy. I just want to clean everything right now.
You would just be like, oh, fuck it. Just take me to jail.
I know.
Yeah,
right?
I shot him in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the conversation when they're cleaning the car. All I'm saying is, I got a threshold, Jules. And I'm reaching my... you're in the red. Yeah, that's so good.
Oh, I love it. And I love the kind of underlying kind of thing between John Travolta and Bruce Willis. Like, their characters hate each other, and then Bruce Willis ends up killing him in the toilet. Like, I love that.
That little interaction they have at the bars is so good.
So great.
And you have no reason the background. Why does John Travolta antagonize Bruce Willis?
Right.
Like, why? Yeah. Other than maybe for, John Travolta's character just being a dick.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to fuck with this guy.
There was a theory, and I don't think it's been substantiated or anything, but there's a theory that Bruce Willis, Butch, right?
Butch, yeah.
Yeah. That he's the one that keyed Vincent Vega's car. And that's like what sparked everything.
That seems completely out of character for Butch.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But speaking of Butch, Christopher Walken's scene.
Oh my God. Iconic.
It's amazing.
Iconic. And it's so great because it's so serious and it's so like dramatic, and it's talking about a watch up an asshole.
And it's classic Christopher Walken.
Oh, absolutely.
And he nailed, like, he's in that movie for 3 minutes, but it's some of the best 3 minutes of that entire movie.
So perfect. Yeah, and it's amazing. This is so stupid because we've already established that we're recording this in the past, but it's just so amazing that that the Russo brothers took that scene for inspiration for Ant-Man to go up
That's
Thanos'
right.
ass.
I can't believe they answered what they actually did.
Right. And then when Christopher Walken was like, I put that Ant-Man up his ass.
And I had that uncomfortable hunk of man up my ass for 3 goddamn years.
Yeah, just iconic, really great. Yeah, the whole idea of bad things happening to Vincent Vega every time he goes to the bathroom is a nice running gag throughout it. Yeah, yep. And the whole storyline with Jules, like his whole arc through the movie, how he is, turning over a new leaf and he's reconsidering his line of work and everything, and he wants to walk the path of the righteous man and everything. I love the dialogue. The dialogue is fantastic.
Especially the scene between him and Tim Roth, where he's trying to explain to Tim Roth his connection to the Bible verse he gives. That is just a fucking fantastic scene.
Absolutely. And I, like, occasionally I'll just have it in my head. I'll just like, tell that bitch to be cool. Say, bitch, be cool.
Oh, me and my buddy at work do that all the time. Like, tell the bitch to be cool. Bitch, be cool.
I feel like I would get in trouble if I did that at my work.
We don't do it on runs.
I'm sure you don't. I'm sure you don't.
Like, James, tell that bitch to be cool, James.
Oh, God. Hey, remember when I made the Pettion joke?
Dude.
Yeah, it was a good one. You're welcome. Overall thoughts on Pulp Fiction?
It's going to be one of my favorite movies of all time until the day I die.
Same.
Will watch it several times a year. I love it, and it's iconic.
Have you ever seen it in the theater?
No.
Okay.
I've never even seen an opportunity to do so.
It has been on kind of a rotation at Keystone Art for their midnight screening.
Oh, has it really?
Midnight Madness, yeah. Tiny and I saw it at a midnight screening maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
I would love to see it in the theater.
It plays really well on screen.
Sure, I bet.
Yeah. But anymore, like midnight screenings, I can't do. I can't do it.
It is awfully late.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Were you making fun of me?
No.
Okay.
No, you're...
Because I made the Pettion joke.
Yeah, I know. No, I remember. I remember that.
So yeah, Pulp Fiction, it's one of my favorite movies as well. Will always be. And just really catapulted Quentin Tarantino into being a household name and a god amongst film nerds like us.
Saved John Travolta's career.
It did. It resurrected it.
Yeah.
And yeah, good stuff.
And I'll never forget the credits where they have the guy listed as coffee shop.
Yep. God damn it,
I'm just a coffee shop.
I'd honestly forgotten about that.
I love that. It's perfect.
So great. God damn it. So let's go ahead and move on to Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown.
Which I feel like Jackie Brown was a bit of not anything that's coming off of Pulp Fiction, like, is not gonna perform as well or be as resonant to like fans of his as Pulp Fiction was. Because Pulp Fiction, I feel like, is lightning in a bottle with him, and you can't really capture that twice. So I have had kind of a mixed history with Jackie Brown. When I saw it when I was a teenager, I was kind of bored by it. I thought it was kind of dull, and it is a movie that he adapted from, I think, Elmore Leonard novel.
I didn't know it was an adapted screenplay.
Yeah, it's based. I think it's based on a novel. I think he took a lot of liberties with it. But rewatching it for this, it's one of those movies that every time I rewatch it, kind of like Reservoir Dogs, I gain a new appreciation for it, and I can really like it a lot more than I've given credit to it in the past. And this time around, I really enjoyed it for the way it's kind of a caper, and the backstabbing and the kind of the way the plot twists around and stuff is really fun, and it's a different kind of energy, but it's just as energetic as his past movies. What'd you think of Jackie Brown, and what's your history with it?
So I didn't see Jackie Brown until almost Kill Bill coming out.
Oh, interesting.
And the reason was that I was trying to watch all Tarantino films before Kill Bill came out. And so I saw it pretty late in my Tarantino, well, maybe not Tarantino career, but it was a long time before I watched Jackie Brown, and I loved it from the get-go, and I still love Jackie Brown. Like, every time I enjoy watching it. It's probably one of those, I probably watch it at least once a year too.
Oh, nice.
I really dig this movie, and for a lot of reasons, and I was happy to be able to watch it again, and I think it's just a great film.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons why I think it is so great and well done, Robert Forster.
He's super good.
He's incredible.
He really is. He does a great, for such a kind of an unassuming looking guy. He really grabs your attention on the screen.
Absolutely, he's like the ultimate character actor, and he's so phenomenal in this movie. And like coupled with like Pam Grier's performance and Samuel L. Jackson, like Samuel L. Jackson is unbelievable in this movie.
And people will disagree with me on this one. I think Ordell Robbie is a better character than Jules.
Really?
I
Interesting.
fucking love Ordell Robbie so much. He is fantastic. He's one of the reasons that I love this movie so much. He's so good. He is such a great character. He's such a dirty piece of shit.
Yeah.
But man, he does it well, and he's a likable piece of shit too.
He is. And like he has this he has such a confidence to him and a bravado to him. Like even though like a lot of characters like oh my god, what was her name? His surfer girl.
My little Melanie.
Melanie, yeah.
She's my little surfer girl.
Yeah.
I can handle
like,
Melanie.
Even she knows he's full of shit,
right.
And she's not afraid to like just tell Robert De Niro like, yeah, he's just spouting off shit that he's heard before.
I love the scene where he's like, "Oh, she tried to play you against me, didn't she?"
Yeah,
and he's like, "What? Why keeping her around?" I was like, "I can handle Melanie."
Yep.
Melanie is the one thing you can count about Melanie is Melanie being Melanie.
Yep. God damn it. Yeah. That okay. So like my gut reaction is say like, okay, like. You're entitled to your opinion of thinking that he's a better character than Jules, but Jules, man.
No,
but I totally get it though.
He is just with that undeserved confidence too.
Yes,
because it's like Ian Malcolm. Mm-hmm. He did nothing. He had to display no discipline to obtain it. I was like, he's done nothing to deserve his bravado.
Yeah.
He stumbled into a gun career, and now, like Melanie said, he's just saying shit that he's overheard people. It's like, you stood on the shoulders of geniuses, and so it's the same thing, and it's nice. Fantastic.
It really is, and that and like the kind of subtle ways that his character is kind of developed a little bit further, like when when I think it's Melanie says something to the effect of like, oh yeah, he told you about the $500 million or the $500,000 he has in Mexico. Yeah, because he'll fucking tell anybody that listens. Yeah. It's like, that's just I love that because that's so in keeping with like that character. That's so, I don't know if I'd say insecure, but he's such an egotist, and he just has this inflated sense of just purpose and power that is, like you said, unearned.
Right. And he has some great character interactions. Like his entire interaction he has with the guy he gets out of jail.
Yeah. Beaumont.
Yeah, Beaumont. I love that scene. I love the scene of him getting at the apartment.
That whole sequence.
Him trying to get him into the trunk of the car. God, it's good.
So, like, that is one of, like, if I were to make a list, it would probably be up there in my list of, like, favorite, like, Tarantino moments. Just like that, the way that entire sequence is structured, the way that he's so, kind of cool and collect and everything. He's, like, persuasive, like I just got you out of jail, like you're home free because of me.
Super persuasive.
Absolutely. And then it just guns him down.
I love that great sequence. First of all, I love the long shot of watching him pull off. Here. And then I love it's you're far off.
Yep.
He pops the trunk and motherfucker, I go.
Yep.
That is brilliant.
So great.
And the conversation Ordell has with Robert Forster's character, too, the first time they meet, I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because Robert Forster's character, he's a seasoned police officer, now a bail bondsman, and he knows exactly who Ordell is.
Yeah.
And he's just not buying any of this bullshit. But he's running a business. He'll do what needs to be done.
Yes. And so in your profession, I would assume that you've interacted with a bail bondsman.
Not a lot, actually.
Interesting.
Well, bail bondsman's not exactly the kind of career that it was a while ago.
Okay.
Just because there's especially in like Marion County, there's just, there's divisions that go in pick up runners.
Yeah.
You know, that's all they do is go and pick up runners. And so bail bondsman anymore is kind of like, well, I have contact with the family.
Yeah.
I'll try to find, I'll try to get info to so-and-so so they can get picked up. You don't see a lot of bail bondsmen out there serving warrants anymore.
Okay, right. Do you see them, like, hiding out in people's houses with a stun gun and everything?
No, that's what we like to call a felony.
Yeah. I was thinking about that as I was watching it, like, wait, okay. Like, do you really expect me to suspend my disbelief for this?
Right, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
They are not official law enforcement officers.
Right.
So.
Like, I spent a spell of, like, 3 months of my life as a private investigator, and, like, I know that's not...
Right, you don't get to do that.
I sat in a car outside of people's houses and told neighbors that I was there on official business. That's the extent of what I did. Yeah. I also really had to take a shit during one of the stakeouts I was on, and it was...
That's awkward.
Yeah, it was so awkward. Like, I had this is a stupid story. I had, told the other investigator I was with, like, yeah, I've got to go take a shit. So I went to the gas station, and, as I get into the bathroom, Salt and Peppa's, is it called Push It?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that song was playing, and I was like...
Oh, very appropriate.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so that's me talking about poop.
There you go.
So, Jackie Brown, yeah, she is great. I got a new respect for the movie. It was really good.
And, Pam Grier does a great job, too. She's fantastic in that role.
She's amazing as just that, I don't want to say femme fatale, but like a confident, just... like not taking anyone's shit.
Been there, done
character.
that.
Yeah. She's not the intimidated person. Like she's not one to be intimidated by anyone.
All interactions with her and Ordell are fantastic. Like totally. Especially when she's discussing how they're going to play out the money coming over, and he's like, "Why'd you tell them that?" She's like, "Yeah, I ain't telling them anything they don't already know." But bitch, you don't have to tell them that.
That was great. Yeah.
And Michael Keaton. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I had forgotten that he was in this movie, and I don't know. There's something to Tarantino's writing, like his dialogue. There's something to the way the words are arranged that bring out like a specific like type of cadence to the dialogue when it's spoken by an actor. And like hearing Michael Keaton say Quentin Tarantino's lines is just it was just great. Like his voice matches that dialogue perfectly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. His role in this film kind of reminded me of him in Out of Sight.
I never saw Out of Sight.
Oh, well, yeah. I quite enjoy Out of Sight.
Does that have George Clooney? Yes.
I don't know why you said George. It also has Jennifer Lopez in it.
I'm going to isolate this and then speed that up so it sounds like we're talking normally.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Just kidding. We don't edit here. So, evidenced by me talking about shitting and being undercover with my cat. So Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro. I weirdly love Robert De Niro in this movie because it seems like such a, I don't know if I would say stunt casting, but it just seems like you have Robert De Niro in the movie and he's playing this just almost nothing.
Yeah, it's just a subdued, almost just beaten character, but he's fun to watch on screen.
Absolutely.
Especially his later interactions with Melanie are incredible. So good.
I love it. Like they get into, like they become like bickering spouses. Right. And when he shoots her, it's just like
when he shoots,
so great.
I feel terrible saying that, but every time he shoots her, I laugh my ass off.
Same here.
It's hilarious.
It's a great comedic.
And he's like, huh, see? Car's right where I said it was. God damn it.
Oh, it's so great. I don't want to say he's the innocent bystander of the whole movie or whatever, but like when he gets shot by Ordell, like I kind of feel for him because he just seems like kind of a dopey kind of character.
And I do like that line by Ordell. It's like, you used to be beautiful.
That was great.
So, so obviously there was a time where Robert Downey Jr.'s Robert De Niro's character was much more confident as a criminal
and respectful.
So I really like that last interaction between those two.
Same here. What did you think of the way that everything went down with the money and the kind of, I don't want to say heist, but like
it's kind of a heist.
Yeah. How'd you feel about the way that it went down and like the way that it almost takes a nonlinear kind of thing where it just kind of shows different viewpoints and kind of circles back on some of the things?
Oh, I think it's clever. Like, I like how, it finally brings the entire plan of Jackie Brown's together.
Yeah.
Because you're not sure who exactly she's playing at certain points. You know she's playing people, but you're not sure who's going to be making out at the end.
Yeah.
So, I like how it finally comes together and, it's her and Robert Forster's gig at the end.
Me too. And I love them together. Like, those two characters are...
Okay. Agreed. They have good scenes and they have good chemistry together, but I am going to stand by that is the most awkward kiss in film history.
I'll agree
horrible.
with you there. It really is.
Horrible.
It really is. But it's not like, when I say that they're great together, I'm not saying like, okay, they're great as like a romantic couple in the movie.
No, but they have really good
their
scenes.
Chemistry, yeah.
It's weird that those two would have such good chemistry, but it happens.
It works. Yeah. Yeah. Any other? We kind of talked it out a little bit. Any other scant thoughts about Jackie Brown?
It's one of those films that makes you realize again that Tarantino's got a foot fetish because he loves Melanie's feet.
Yeah, that's true.
Really loves them feet, but no, man, I had a lot of fun with this movie.
Me too.
Every time I watch it, I have a lot of fun with this movie, and Ordell Robbie is fucking fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. I love it as a vehicle for Pam Grier.
Me too.
But also for Samuel L. Jackson. Like, those two are kind of the powerhouses of this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt.
Yeah. And I think that it's a perfect movie for their individual skill sets as actors.
Don't forget Debo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's in there for like 2 seasons.
Right.
But...
Also, Chris Tucker. We kind of just
that might have been Chris Tucker's like first role.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, because Friday was maybe a year or two after that, I think. Or maybe around the same year.
Maybe around the same time.
Yeah.
Debo and Chris Tucker back at it together, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a Friday, well, not prequel, but...
Yeah, Debo really turned his life around.
Yeah. And yeah. I got nothing. Yeah, I think that should just about do it.
The Michael Keaton's partner is the buck that likes to fuck.
Oh yeah, Michael Bowen.
Is that was I didn't know what his name was.
He did several guest spots on Lost. That's where I know him from.
I don't think I ever realized who it was until like this view, and I'm like, that's Buck who likes to fuck.
Wow. Well, we're going to be talking about him soon.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Next time on the podcast, by the way, do we have anything else to say about these first 3 movies?
No, I think I will just say this. I think there are 3 great starting points to launch his career. Like, I think he starts off good, hits his stride with Pulp Fiction, and just keeps on going with Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
So.
And obviously we're both going to say Pulp Fiction is the best of the 3.
Sure.
What do you think is the better of Reservoir Dogs and Jackie Brown? Okay. Nice.
In my opinion, I love Jackie Brown.
I'll agree with you, honestly. After this view, before this viewing and before this whole project, I would have said Reservoir Dogs probably, just on reflex, but I really gained a new appreciation for
I really find that Jackie Brown's like the forgotten film of Tarantino.
Here. Oh, yeah.
And I don't know why, maybe... you're right. It is hard coming off of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Like it's impossible to top. Like,
absolutely.
So Jackie Brown coming next it's almost destined to be forgotten maybe, but I love it. And I think it deserves its praise.
Absolutely. And I think part of that is, I don't know. I just remember there being kind of not a stigma against Jackie Brown, but like a drop off in positive stuff toward.
Yeah, I would agree with that. People rarely talk about Jackie Brown.
Right, which is weird because, like, these three movies, I mean, they're all crime movies. They're all similar.
I think if Jackie Brown had come out before Pulp Fiction, we would talk about it differently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's interesting because, like, I saw Reservoir Dogs after I saw Pulp Fiction, and I had watched Reservoir Dogs in the shadow of Pulp Fiction because of that.
Right.
And then watching Jackie Brown, knowing that this is the movie that he made after Pulp Fiction, was still also in the shadow of Pulp Fiction. Right. But yeah, watching it now with a more, refined mindset. I really gained a new appreciation for it. So yeah, I think that'll just about do it for this episode. This was the first episode of our 3-part retrospective on Quentin Tarantino's directing film stuff.
Film doing things.
Film doing things. Next time on the podcast, we're going to continue this roller coaster of a retrospective with our part 2 of Quentin Tarantino retrospective. We're going to be covering Kill Bill Volume 1, Kill Bill Volume 2, and Death Proof, which I'm actually really excited for. All 3 of them, really. But Death Proof I'm very curious about because Kurt Russell, man.
I love Death Proof.
He's so great.
He is.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, so that all about do it. Any parting thoughts before we close out for the night?
No.
All right.
Say we're good.
Great. Well, I don't have any Quentin Tarantino references off the top of my head, so I'm just going to close it out. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, enjoy your foot massages and have a great day.
Does he look like a bitch?
Nice. Does he look like... Say what one more time.
What ain't no country ever?
All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to ObsessiveViewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer and at ObsessiveTiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Fekkes, and at Burger_Lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at ObsessiveViewer.com/donate. Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at Patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at ObsessiveViewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to ObsessiveViewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone, and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, The Dark Tower series, at TowerJunkiesPod.com and at TowerJunkiesPod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!